The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
Welcome to another week of Living a Rich Life. I am your host, Rich James. Here on Living a Rich Life talk show, we inform, inspire, and encourage each other to live through 6 elements. Those elements are good health, strong relationships, financial freedom, goals and achievement, extraordinary experiences, and philanthropy. We all have a story to tell, and today's guests are no different. So with that being said, let's talk about it. Today, our first guest has been featured by CNN, USA Today, Travel and Leisure, Lodging Magazine, Travel Noir, and Hotel Management Magazine, and that's only to name a few. Please welcome the General Manager of Revival and award-winning hoteler, Mr. Donte Johnson. My guy, can you hear me? You got to take yourself off of mute. I love it. You know, I never get tired of saying that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we are good to go.
Beautiful. Good. It's only been 3 years and I still haven't figured out how to use the mute button. I'm sorry about that.
It gets like that. Right. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for joining. It's been a while. We've been trying to connect. We've seen each other out in social events and things of that nature, whether it was calendars conflicting, but we finally made it. We
figured it out. We figured it out, man.
All right, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
So here on Be Exposed Radio, just be clear, you know, we do our research, and we know that you've been doing a lot of good things in the community. We know you've been doing a lot of good things as the GM at Revival. So tell us right off the bat, how long you've been doing this, and what makes a good hotel general manager?
Yeah, thank you for the question, man. So first and foremost, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. So started out at the front desk, and this was shortly after graduating from college. I studied journalism. I was supposed to be a sports writer, and I couldn't find a job. And even with the degree and all of that, I struggled to find employment. And I had an aunt who was in the industry who encouraged me to just look into getting a job at the front desk, just to kind of get myself situated and realistically move out of her house. And once I got a job in the industry, I started to look around and realize, I kind of like these people. I like what the industry has an opportunity to represent. And if I'm going to be here, I might as well learn as much as I can while I'm here. And so it was supposed to be a temporary thing that, turned into a 20+ year, temporary job. And so if you could there's a such thing as a 20-year summer job, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm living. And, once I fell in love with the industry, the rest is kind of history. So this is the 6th hotel that I've run as general manager, but I've been in the industry for 2+ decades.
Wow. Now right there, folks, if you're just joining in, we're talking to Donte Johnson, general manager of Revival. Now, so this is a major story to me, right? You was thinking of doing a sports writer, and then summer, summer jobs are always the funnest.
Right.
And then you transition. I would have thought this was your calling, what you was meant to do. So do you think, again, that was just, hey, Donte Johnson in his mind, what I want to do, but do you think career versus what you're doing now as a GM in hospitality, do you think this is really your calling, what you was called to do?
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidence, Rich. I think ultimately everywhere where we are, we're there for a reason and we're there for a purpose. At 17 years old, picking a career and deciding what you're supposed to do with the rest of your life is something I think most kids aren't ready to do. And so I picked journalism because I was good at writing, not because I felt passionate about my ability to tell other people's stories. Once I got into this industry, and particularly as I started to grow within the space, I realized that it gave me an opportunity to touch and impact people's lives. And to me, that's the thing that I'm most passionate about. You asked what makes a great general manager. I think being able to connect with people in a way that's authentic, that's supportive, to me is like that's the price of admission. I don't care how well the business is doing. You're not doing a great job if you're not actually pouring into your people. And I see my people as not just the people who work in this building, but the people who occupy this city as well.
Yeah, I love that. Well said. Because again, I think me myself, I do a lot of traveling as well.
Yeah.
Being in a hotel and being a guest, I can only imagine, as a GM, some of the things that might go through your mind. What would you
Yeah.
say are kind of like the four main responsibilities as a GM, right? Because you're really
Yeah.
much managing all the
Yeah.
operations. So tell us, what's the four main responsibilities of a hotel GM?
Yeah, I think every hotel GM has four key stakeholders. The people who invest in the industry, so the people who own the building, we're meant to return on that investment. So we lead the business, and that's what spits that out. The people who work in the space, and so caring for the people who you're in the trenches with every day is what makes all the rest of that stuff happen and makes all the rest of that stuff possible. The customers pay the bills, right? And so none of this happens without people walking through the front door and ultimately deciding, making a decision to spend money with you and give you their business. But I think the fourth stakeholder, and to me, as important as any of those other key stakeholder groups, is the community. And
Mm.
far too often, we've had hotels and other businesses that have thrived in communities that have not. And so, my goal for every minute that I spend in this industry is to continue to break down the wall between where the business ends and where the community begins. So I think, to me, I feel like I'm equally accountable to all four of those groups.
Okay. So you talk about the hospitality industry. So
Right.
so tell us, how do you feel that you're changing the hospitality industry? Not just within the community, but abroad. Because again,
Yeah.
CNN is no small platform, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
USA Today, and you've been
Yeah.
doing it, and we've done the research. These things I already knew, but tell us how you're
Right.
changing the hospitality industry.
Well, I mentioned that our goal is really to run a business without walls. It means creating a space where people feel seen, they feel represented, they feel like they have access. I think one of the first things I learned when I came into this position, having not really spent much time in Baltimore, was that all of these incredible restaurants, hotels, bars, nightlife, facilities, people in East and West Baltimore don't necessarily feel like those things are for them. They don't necessarily
Mm.
always feel welcome in those spaces. And so when you talk about changing the world, I think the first thing we can do is change our backyard. And so if we change how we move in our communities, that's the beginning of that conversation. I think, I've been very grateful to all of the media outlets, not just CNN and USA Today, but you as well, for having an interest in helping me to amplify that story, because I think that that's how a thing becomes a wave. Somebody had to start all of these conversations and everything that 20 years ago when somebody decided, hey, we should probably start to look at how we can run businesses more sustainably. Somebody had to start that conversation, and it caught on because people like yourself, who had a platform, who had an audience, thought this was a story worth telling. So I'm grateful to you and people like you for helping us to tell that story. But I think the way that we seek to change the world is really just by bringing to light the fact that you know we are accountable to the people in our communities too. Just because people who live in the East and West Baltimore aren't typically booking hotel stays in Baltimore unless there's a staycation situation,
Mm.
doesn't mean that they shouldn't be front of mind when we're thinking about how we program the spaces, what kind of music we're going to play, what does the programming in the space look like. I think the more that we bring the community into the space and the more that people in the community see themselves as a stakeholder in our business, the more they actually become people who support and amplify what we're doing. And I think that's the thing that's really put us over the top. And we've been fortunate, and honestly, I've been really, pleasantly surprised to see so many people in our industry, in the space, in the city, start to catch on to that and do some of those things as well, which I think is incredible.
Absolutely. I will say I've noticed that too, as time has progressed, and I don't know if this is a post-COVID, but I see it going on and on, just in
Yeah,
terms of the level of support that gets poured out. I do want to take a time to give a shout out to my guy Juan. I'm sure you know
yeah,
Juan,
yeah.
GM.
I talked to Juan on Monday.
Oh,
That's my
okay,
guy,
okay. So
man.
hopefully you told,
Yeah,
because Juan was on the show, and that was one of the
yeah.
key things too to get you on here as well. Because so that is huge. I mean, that's really huge. How how did it feel to be named an influencer of Maryland by the Daily Record? How did that feel?
It felt great. I think it's one thing when media outlets and national publications are amplifying the work. I think it really means that much more when the people in the community that we seek to serve, find the work to be meaningful. So I think that there's nothing better than having the Daily Record or Visit Baltimore or the GBC or or the city of Baltimore itself hold up the work that we're doing and say, hey, listen, this is a model that we think people should pay attention to because it's something that's helpful. So I mean, it means everything to me.
Oh, nice. So, folks that are just joining in and watching, feel free to call in. We're going to take a few minutes to allow Donte to share your social media so
Yeah,
folks know how they can get a hold of you, how they can get a hold of anything happening at the revival, the address and where they go if they need to stay. So,
yeah,
if you could do us the honors and share with your social media contacts and all your other information, that'd be great.
for sure. First and foremost, the hotel is located at 101 West Monument, so it's literally across the street from Mount Vernon Place, home of the original Washington Monument. My social media handles: I'm the Hoodie Hotelier on Instagram, Hoodie Hotelier on Twitter, and Dante Johnson on LinkedIn. And so that's really the best place to go to keep track of everything that's happening at the hotel. I try to be very intentional about pushing out all things revival, top side, B side, all of our outlets and all of our programming on those channels so people can keep up with it.
All right. Thank you, sir. So, let's
Yeah,
talk
appreciate it.
about the Hoodie Hoteler. How you pronounce it?
Hotelier? Yeah, yeah,
Hotelier. Okay.
yeah.
So where did that term come from? Where did that phrase come from?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. And you're the first person in media to ask it.
Well,
Um,
this is Be Exposed Radio. We got some of the best teams.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So during the pandemic, there's a lot of things that shifted in the industry, and one of those things was, you started to see a sort of evolution of dress codes and a lot of spaces, uniform programming, which was a thing that we were blowing up pre-pandemic at Revival. We felt very strongly that we have a team that's dynamic and stylish, and the people at my front desk dress better than I do. So why would I assume that I can go onto a uniform catalog and pick out something that's better for them to wear than what they can wear themselves? And I also found that like nobody's ever proud to wear their work uniform on the bus on their way to work in the morning. So my belief, just like Deion Sanders said, like if you feel like you look good, then you play good. And so people on my team feel like they're the best version of themselves when they leave the house every day. Then I think they'll perform well when they get to the workplace. And they're showing our guests a more authentic version of what Baltimore looks like. And I think that if we as an industry really want to localize experiences and tell the stories of our communities, well, it starts with allowing our people to be the most authentic version of themselves. And what I found was that I couldn't fully amplify that if I wasn't embodying that and living that myself. And so this is not to say like my closet is ridiculous, man. One of my best friends in the space is Miguel Wilson, who's top tier as far as men's fashion goes. I've got plenty of suits. I choose not to wear them to work at Revival because what we're doing, again, breaking down the walls between the business and the community, I think requires a level of authenticity that that it's hard to create when there's image barriers between me and the people in the community. So if I go to Tish Tillman Elementary and Middle School because, we want to go over there and mentor and connect with some young people, I want to be the most approachable version of myself when I get to that school, not the version that they see as the most fancy or the version that they see as the most aspirational. I'm already aspirational when I show up. I think the most important thing for me to focus on is how I can create a genuine connection with people. So if we're breaking down walls, that doesn't just mean the physical walls. That also means, creating a space where people can see you and see themselves in you as well.
Well said. That's well said. I'm glad my team came up with that question.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, and that makes sense. That makes sense. One thing you mentioned was the youth. How
Yeah.
important is it to mentor our youth today? How important is that?
It's critically important. I think that, I'm not sitting here right now were it not for people all along the way at every step in the journey who saw me as a worthwhile investment of a few minutes of time. And so I think that there's so many areas where we as a society um, have a responsibility to do better for young people. And I think that young people in the city are not a burden. They're not a problem to be solved. They're not a thing to be fixed. Like they are a part of our community. They are young, and I suspect that the people on your team have said have seen what I've written about young people in the city, and that's why this is
Absolutely.
a question. I think that I don't want to turn this into an interview about the squeegee community, but look that up for people who are listening, people who are watching, who are unaware. Um, they are not Baltimore does not have a monopoly on underserved young people. I think in every city and every country, there's a version of squeegee kids who exist. And I think how the community responds to the needs of that community, to the needs of that population, is telling more about us than about them. And so, the short answer is I think mentorship and engagement with young people is critically important. And I'll never not have a few minutes for a young person who's got something on their mind.
That's key. I mean, even at this age,
Yeah.
I'm no youth, but I still think having a mentor or someone you can talk to, kind of
For
guide you
sure.
through the waves, is very important. So yes, we did definitely dig into some of the community stuff that you do. Again, hats off to you. I do want to take this time also because one of your folks that you work with very closely was actually an individual that kicked off my show some 3 years ago. And Monty, keep me honest. I want to say 3.5 years ago. So tell us what it's like to work with Jason Bass.
It's incredible, man. Jason's my guy, and I feel like there's probably 20,000 people in Baltimore who would say that exact same thing. So I think having somebody in the space who is brilliantly creative, but also highly entrepreneurial, creates a very different dynamic on our leadership
Mhm.
team than most other hotels have. And I think that's a big part of our competitive edge. I think being able to harness that energy and pour it into our operation in a way that's meaningful becomes one of the most important parts of my job. Connecting, what is a very robust brainstorming slash creative process to day-to-day outcomes that impact the experience of our customers is a really, really fun task to have every day when you walk into the workplace. And I think one of the things that hotels fall into is a habit of cycling through the same sets of ideas year after year after year and doing a version of a thing that's incrementally different than what we did before. I think having somebody who is sort of a creative bull in the china shop show up and be a part of the team, it shifts every part of the dynamic, and I think it impacts every part of the operation.
Yeah, absolutely. And on a side note, because again, not only do we do the research, we do go out and ask folks their thoughts and their opinions of you. And I will say nothing but with outstanding comments in terms of you as an individual.
Thank you, bro.
And one of the questions that was asked again by someone that we reached out to, they want to know what inspires and motivates Donte Johnson.
The people, man. I think it sounds corny, but I am inspired by the interactions I have with people every day. Jason asked me a question recently about, you know, I do a lot of things intentionally for people, and I refuse to accept anything in return. Like I'm not, and this is I'm
Mm,
no saint, you know, I'm not at all. But I think I get excited and inspired when I can identify an opportunity for you that you may not see for yourself. I get excited and inspired when I'm in a room and something comes up and I know somebody who would benefit from it, and I'm able to connect those dots. Like to me, that's its own reward. And the way I see it is everybody who has benefited from that is a part of an ecosystem where, you know, I'm never going to ask you for anything, but I might ask you for something for somebody else, and I need you to show up. And I think everybody who I have endeavored to support and help knows that there is a string attached. There's just one, and that string is one day I'm going to call you and I'm going to ask you to do something for somebody, and you might not know that person, but they're in the circle, and we all need to look out for each other. And so I think it, you know, there's formal frameworks built around this idea. Like I didn't invent this, but it's something
mhm.
that I live by, and to me, that's the thing that gets me the most excited. You know, I have an 8-year-old son, man, who I think is just the most incredible human who's ever lived. If you want to ask me why I wake up in the morning, I mean, you know, it's to create a world that's worthy of him. But the thing that, you know, on a day-to-day basis, as I'm walking through the building, that keeps me energized is the idea that we get to help some people. And I
Uh,
think if we can create a culture in this building, which we have, where it's not weird for me to say to the front office manager, Oz, hey man, there's a lady who has vegan desserts. We need to plan a pop-up for her in the lobby. And he goes, yeah, absolutely, say less. And then I meet with the food and beverage director and go, hey, she wants to put her vegan desserts on the menu. It's like, will we do that? I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But it's not weird to anybody in this building that they're going to be asked on a regular basis to do things that do not contribute directly to the bottom line of our business, but they contribute to the humanity in our community, and they know that that's what's expected. And to me,
yeah,
like that's probably the thing I'm most proud of.
yeah. That's the whole support in a different type of way.
Yeah, man.
You know, one of the things, you know, I'm a big supporter. Folks say, hey, you know, you're always reaching out, trying to connect somebody,
Yeah,
and I think that's a beautiful thing when I'm able to
yeah,
help someone else,
for sure.
and whatever the case is. One of the stories I generally like to tell is when I connected a restaurant owner and a woman that was, you know, getting into bacon. They just started, and then from there, they just, you know, catapulted into something amazing. So that's definitely key when it comes. Again, not just think about yourself, but I think as a whole, as a community, we'll get somewhere further if we support each other in that direction. Um, so, you know, we talked about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
In terms of, again, one of the big things, you know, I won't say the bottom line, but a big piece of it is, you know, finances, right?
Mhm.
So ultimately, who's responsible for finances in the hotel, and why?
In this hotel, it's me. I'm responsible for everything that happens in this building every day, and that includes the financial performance of the business. You know, that's the simple answer. And I think
Mhm.
if there's early
Wasn't a trick
on,
question.
no, I mean that's what it is. I think every hotel has a person who leads finance, and in our case, we have an area director of finance. Like no shade to him, he's great at what he does, and he leads that department. But who's responsible for making the business make money? That's me. And I have a team of brilliant people around me, whether it's sales and marketing, revenue management, finance, food and beverage. I mean, the whole thing. Everybody plays a part in that, but I am ultimately accountable for the bottom line. And whoever sits in this chair in every hotel is as well, whether they feel like it or whether they know it or not, they are. You know, so to me, that's a thing that all of the things that we do in the community, you know, the example I just gave of doing a pop up in the lobby, and looking at things, local items that we can add to the menu, all of those things are cool. But if the business isn't successful, then we'll just be some people who did a bunch of cute stuff at a hotel, and
Mhm,
nobody will
mhm.
ever look to replicate our playbook and copy what we've done. The reason why you see people starting to do things that look and feel very similar to things that you've seen us do over the past few years is because it's working. So my job is to make sure that we convert all of those really meaningful things into value to the business.
Yeah. So which kind of keys up my next question. You know, this is Be Exposed Radio.
Yeah.
Is it more important to be a good listener or a good communicator?
I think you can't be a good communicator if you're not a good listener.
Mm,
It's probably the most critical part. Everybody's got something to say, whether they say it or not. But if you're not really engaged with the person that you mean to communicate with, from a listening perspective, then you're going to miss more often than you hit. So I think the listening has to come first, but it is a part of that package when you're looking to communicate with folks.
okay. We got Donte Johnson, GM of Revival Hotel. He's dropping gems here. He's dropping gems. Two questions that I always like to ask my guests.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you one of them now,
Okay.
and I think for all intents and purposes, I could kind of summarize what I think it is. But what is your superpower? What is Donte Johnson's superpower?
I think it's empathy. I think that
Mm,
I have a deep sort of visceral connection with all the humanity around me. And so, you know, last night I'm driving through the intersection again, going back to the squeegee community, and guy walks up to the car. It's like, yo, my windshield's squeaky clean. It usually is, but I've got a few dollars for you, but I want to talk to you. And if that means that people got to drive around and they're gonna beat the horn and the light turns green, I don't really care about any of that because I'm focused on the human being who's in front of me right now.
mhm.
And that's not to say that I do that every time I drive past an intersection, but when I don't, it kind of sticks with me a little bit. And there's a million examples of times where I felt like I wasn't as human as I could have been in an interaction. Like I fall short of this quite a bit, but I think the way that it sticks with me and the way that it affects me um, is something that's meaningful, and it's probably a little different. And so I don't think I have a choice but to lead empathetically because I couldn't get away from it if I tried. And I think it's it's more of a benefit. It's more of an advantage. It's more of a superpower than it is a hindrance because I think it enables me to engage with people differently. And I come from very, very humble beginnings, bro. I grew up in the projects, man. I've seen alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, murder, violence up close and personal, man. I come from very humble beginnings, but the way that I came through that was that people saw in me, something worthwhile. So my responsibility to you know the world, to everybody, is to put that same energy back out.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, that requires special skills to me. Not everyone. And again, I stay in my lane. Right. It
Yeah,
comes to
yeah,
media interviews, talking to people. I can do that. That's one piece of it.
yeah,
I have my six elements of that's how I live my life. But
yeah.
for you as a GM, like I said, I would stay in my lane. I wouldn't do it. What are some skills that are absolutely required in order to be a hotel GM? So not
I
even the
think,
responsibilities, actually
yeah, yeah,
skills that you need to have and
yeah,
that you possess.
yeah. I think skills, organization is important. There is always going to be more to do than there is time to do it. I run a
Mm.
24-hour day, 7-day a week business. More work comes in than I can possibly do by myself.
Dante, I'm gonna
Um,
need you to say that again.
I said I run a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week business. On a daily basis, more work comes in than I myself can possibly do. You have to delegate and you have to trust the people around you, but you also have to have people around you who you can trust. And so being a good judge of character is what will enable you to bring, to more often than not, we all get it wrong from time to time. Bring
Mhm,
in the right
mhm.
people, surround yourself with people who are strong in their space and who you can trust to do the things that you simply cannot humanly do yourself. And I think the worst trap that early stage GMs fall into is not trusting anybody. 'Cause nobody can do it
Mm.
as good as me. And every time I give a thing to somebody else, it's better to just do it myself. I posted a video on Instagram the other day of the scene from Casino
Because,
when
yeah.
when Robert De Niro was like, "I want an equal amount of blueberries in every muffin." Now, mind you, like clinically, there's something wrong with him as a character, but he's not wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
But ultimately, he can't put the blueberries in the muffin himself. He's got to have people around him who can do their part. Like Belichick said, if everybody just shows up and does their job, then the Patriots win championships. So so I think the delegation piece is critical. I think that it's not a skill, but it's a trait. Authenticity is critical, man. Authenticity is critical. Nobody wants to follow a fake leader, and I think more people than we realize are really really good at sniffing out BS. And so, man, there's so many fake charismatic people out there who are smiling and handshaking you to death, who people know that that's not really how you truly show up. And so I'd rather tell somebody something that they're not gonna like, but that's true, than to have them like me 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I think if that's your baseline, if that's your foundation, then you build on that by being tactical and being strategic and being able to sort of outmaneuver the people that you compete with from a commercial strategy standpoint. Then you got a recipe that you can cook with.
Well said. Well said. What does a typical day look like for you? I know it's 24 hours, 7 days a week business, but
Yeah,
for me, my days usually start, 6 o'clock. And then right after
yeah,
the show today, we prepare for next week's show. Right.
right.
So what does a
Yeah,
typical day look like for Donte Johnson? And what sort of hours do you work?
yeah. So first of all, 15 Zoom calls every day. Like my life has become one long uninterrupted Zoom call. I do not know how to fix this, but at some point I'm going to figure that out. No, I would say that probably a good 30% of my time is spent in meetings, whether virtual or in person. And I think that's just part of the job. Um, every day is a little bit different. And that's what I
Mhm.
love about this job. And I think the GMs who are doing it right are every day finding time and opportunities to show up for their people. I've got two bartenders that are competing in a speed rack competition. If you don't know what that is, we don't have time to go into it, but look it up. And and so early stages of me finding out that I've got bartenders that are competing, and our bar team is incredible here. They compete and win contests all the time. Half the time they don't even tell me about it, which I get annoyed by, and they know this. But I said to Elena, our bar manager and B-side downstairs, we should like host some practice rounds so that we can like get ready and prepare ourselves to win this thing. And so she brought that conversation back to the bar guild. The bar guild sets up an event, not here, somewhere else that's cool. But Monday, on my way home from work, I got to stop in, man, and be present in that space to support my people. And what was really incredible for me was that two of my managers from the hotel were there on their day off as well. And so it's like that to me says a lot about the culture that's been built. Is that, I'm thinking to myself, hey, this is a thing that I'm responsible for carving out time to do this. I have to do it. They don't. They're doing it because they want to. So I think those opportunities will present themselves 3 or 4 times a week. I just got to be dialed in and create space to be nimble when they do. If my schedule is fixed from the minute I get here to the minute I leave, then I've created no space for me to show up for the team in those moments. Um, we have a weekly strategy meeting, so every week we figure out how to go out there and compete for business. Every morning we start the day with a quick stand-up meeting so everybody can get themselves aligned and oriented. I think just about every hotel on earth does that meeting. And then all throughout, everybody who reports to me directly is going to get some time, once a week for whatever it is that we're working on together, but also for just whatever's on their mind, whether it's something that's here, it's something in life. We create space for that. At least once a month, I get together with a small round table of just anybody who works in the hotel can show up for that meeting, tell me what's on their mind, what should we keep doing, start doing, stop doing. And those meetings are tell me more about what's happening at the hotel. That I learn more about what's happening at the hotel in that hour and a half than any
Right.
other minute that I could possibly spend in the building. because the leaders want to show up as capable. So they're going to tell me the things that make me think that they're great at their jobs, and they are. But what the public area attendant's going to tell me, what the dishwasher is going to tell me, what the engineer is going to tell me, is going to let me know everything that I need to know about where my attention should be focused to address the most pressing concerns in the building.
Okay, so within the 20 years in the business, from the front desk to now to GM, I could say you've probably seen a lot. In terms of, because sometimes we have, as I like, well-known or famous celebrities, people, because I tell folks I'm kind of famous. So just in terms of just in terms of famous folks that you've encountered, because I did my research. So can you share with us any folks that you've encountered, famous or not, that maybe were extremely irate guests? Who did you enjoy most? What was that kind of like that? What was that like?
Yeah, honestly, I've never had a diva celebrity in my life. And I honestly, like, that's real. And I have personally interacted with tons of famous people in the industry. And so I told you I had an aunt who used to work in hotels, and I would come home when I was living with her and say, "Hey, guess who I met today?" She's like, "You got to take pictures with these people." And I was like, "Nah, man, that feels like that's not professional, so I'm not going to do it." But the first celebrity that I was really excited about meeting was, who will always be Apollo Creed to me. So, this is what I called this man. It's what I called him when he checked in. It's probably not the most respectful thing in the world, but like I had an emotional connection to that character. And so, you know how folks are. I'm going to call you your most famous character.
Right.
I met Johnny Cochran at a hotel at midnight. I stayed at the hotel because I wanted to check him in. And I did. I was working in hotels in DC during, both Obama inaugurations, but Obama one was like this really, really incredible celebrity melting pot. And so at the hotel where I was working, J-Lo, Mark Anthony, Jay-Z, Aretha Franklin, Usher, T.I. It was like just a really, really random group of celebrities, but the energy in the space was incredible. And like the goofiest thing that happened.
Incredible time. That was an incredible time.
Of course. Yeah. Historic. And honestly, the goofiest thing that happened during that entire window, when the entire hotel was full of celebrities, was that Usher wanted to go in the hotel kitchen and cook his own food. And I was like, oh, it's not something that you're going to be able to do. And so if that makes him a diva, then he's the answer to your question. Usher wanted to come into our kitchen and cook for himself.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We could probably share stories on interaction. I think, again, that's one of the things, again, to your aunt, she's like, oh, you should take pictures with these people. Yeah. And, I've met quite a few folks, and, I've taken here and there a couple of folks. Anyone that knows me, they knows I'm a selfie king. But, sometimes, again, I think they, folks just want to say, hey, how you doing? You don't really have over them for pictures and everything, because they, at the end of the day, they're people too.
Yeah, and I think also I'm at work, and my work is really your temporary home. And so I think, to your point, man, people are tired. They just got off a plane, and they've been traveling all day, and they just want to get to their room. I'm not going to stop them from doing that to do anything that's self-serving, whether it's just have a 5-minute conversation. I'm not going to do that unless it's prompted by them. So that was always the way that I looked at it.
Absolutely. So one of the things I've learned and come to realize, as, again, things continue to grow in my media space. I just recently became a board member for Layla's Gifts, a nonprofit organization. So thank you. So I know for a fact, again, and I think this came from some of my folks that did research. They were asking some of the board member, some of the organizations that you've been a board member, that you are currently or have been. Yeah. Is that's a thing for you, right?
Yeah, I try to be of service to the industry with my board work, and be of service to the broader community in every other space. So when we go to, Tench Tillman or Dallas Nichols Elementary School to do work with those students, that is to me an ongoing commitment of showing up for people directly that, that I think will benefit them differently than decisions that I could make serving in the boardroom of a nonprofit. Doesn't mean that that's not valuable. It just means that that's the way that I'd rather be face to face with those folks. And I think that the work that I try to do in the industry is really challenging industry norms and things that we've held to for a long time that I think limit access. So I'm going to try to limit board participation to three at the most at a given time. And it always usually ends up being four, no matter how hard I try. Right now, I'm on three boards that revolve specifically around my work at the hotel here. So
Okay.
the Mount Vernon Place Conservancy, which is the organization responsible for looking after the park right across the street from the hotel, I serve on that board. And that is a board that really controls what happens with a gem of an asset to the Mount Vernon community. And that is, Mount Vernon Square. The park is incredible, but what happens out there hugely sets the tone for what this community feels like to people. And I
Hmm.
think if the board makes decisions that limit access, then that's a thing that's meaningful. If the board makes decisions that create access, then that's meaningful. So, we can curate a vibe by deciding what kind of musicians will be in the park, what kind of activities for kids will be in the park, how aggressively do we want to stop kids from skateboarding? All those types of things I think are really, really meaningful to dictating what kind of community this will and won't be. So I participate in that board. I'm on the board for Visit Baltimore, and so that's now you've gone from a neighborhood thing to a city thing,
City thing.
and Visit Baltimore obviously is the organization charged with bringing tourism business to the city, and so obviously that connects with my work at the hotel pretty directly. And then I'm also on the board for the Maryland Hotel and Lodging Association. So now this is a statewide thing, and largely my participation in that board mirrors the work that I do in the other two, just at a larger scale.
Not just
And
okay.
so, Visit Baltimore and the Mount Vernon Place Conservancy are probably more closely connected than the work at the state level, because the state means, Ocean City, the state means Annapolis, the state means PG County, Montgomery County. So that work ends up spanning different types of hotels, different types of markets. The challenges that the state has versus what the city has are very different. And oftentimes the relationship between Baltimore and Annapolis, meaning the city and the state level government, tends to be one that needs some very intentional caretaking. So I'm grateful to be able to be in the room for some of those conversations and participate. And then I recently joined the East Coast Board of Directors for the International Luxury Hotel Association. And that was maybe a month ago that I joined that board. And I thought that was a very interesting one because a lot of what I have challenged in the industry um, specifically rose against some of the norms that the luxury sector within hospitality has held to pretty tightly. So when we blew up the uniform program here and said, "Hey, man, everybody gets to decide what they wear to work," I don't see a lot of luxury hotels doing that across the board. And maybe they
Hmm.
shouldn't. Maybe that doesn't serve them. But I think having a voice that is so quote unquote untraditional in these spaces, or having a voice that typically wouldn't have been welcomed into these spaces. These voices have
Right.
always existed. Don't get me wrong. The movement's been strong for a long time, but haven't always been welcomed into those spaces, I think is a very interesting thing. And before I join any organization, I ask when it's solicited specifically, how do you see me adding value to this
Right.
board, and what are the things that you would look for me to specifically support with? And to their credit, one of the things they said is like, we don't have many voices like yours. We'd love to hear from you in our conversations. Now, we'll see how that plays out. It's like easy. It's cool to say that up
Easier
front.
said than done. Right.
And
Right. Right.
once I'm in the room and talking, I think there's times where certainly people don't people might wish they hadn't said
Nice. Nice.
that.
So what's next for Donte Johnson and Revival? Tell us what's
I think
next.
I think we're going to continue to try to deepen the impact. I think we typically try to start out going deeper rather than going wider. But then once we've kind of done that in a way that we're happy with, then we start to spread the work out a little bit, and also to try to be as collaborative as possible. We want to continue to work with local businesses, particularly businesses that are owned and founded and operated by women and people of color in the community. We know the statistics around how little VC funding and support that those businesses get, and so we want to do what we can to close that gap. But we also want to continue to collaborate with creatives and people outside the Baltimore community. And so we're talking right now to an incredible photographer out of Philadelphia who's going to do an installation here at the hotel. We're talking to some folks in New York, some folks in DC. And so I think people can look forward to larger, splashier collaborations. But we also want to do work with other hotels in the city, other restaurants in the city. Like you talked about Juan, man. Me and Juan, Juan and I have been tight for a long time, since before I ever got to Baltimore. And so I've always watched closely and loved what he's doing, what he's done throughout his career. I would love to see a space where all of us can get together and collaborate and work together on things. And I think that's something that's not crazy to think.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So before we conclude this session and take a quick commercial break, so folks, again, we have Donte Johnson, General Manager of Revival. I want to say thank you for joining. Our final question for you is one of my favorites. What does living a rich life mean to you? So if you could just give us your thoughts on that.
For sure. First and foremost, I think it's, to me, it's the highest version of self-care. And so as an example, I've got a buddy who is an avid golfer. Like he is hell bent on playing all the fanciest golf courses in the country. Whatever the most prestigious courses are, he wants to have checked all of those off his list. I have no desire to set foot on a golf course. Now, like if I could shoot free throws at Capital One Arena, like that to me would be a better way to spend an afternoon, right? So I think we should all be doing the version of things that align directly with us, and not the things that we've been taught equal a rich life. So if I'd rather be in Jamaica than Paris, then a Parisian vacation shouldn't be a more aspirational thing to me. I should do the thing that aligns with, I'd rather be on the beach than be at the Eiffel Tower, then I should go to the beach. So for me, it is travel. It is going to places that are not the places that we've been taught over time that we're supposed to go to. I want to go to spots where that aren't on everybody's radar, and I want to go to the places where people who are from there go. So I'm going to sign the waiver, and I'm going to walk off the resort and live with the outcomes, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go be around some real people, man. And I think for me, wherever I go, I'm going to find the people, and connect with them as best as I possibly can. I think living a rich life is a life that creates abundance, not that absorbs it. So to me, I feel fulfilled when I am creating value for people around me. And so that is the day in, day out answer. I'm gonna take a few trips every year. I'm gonna eat at some nice restaurants, man. I'm gonna have the best cocktails in every city I go to. But the day in, day out answer of how to live a rich life is to create abundance for other people.
I love it. I love it. So there you have it, folks. Donte Johnson telling his story here on Be Exposed Radio. This is your guy, Rich James. This is Living a Rich Life Talk Show. Donte, thanks for joining. We'll be right back, folks. We're going to take a quick 20-second commercial break, and then we're going to come back with our second guest, an amazing woman, and she's closing out Women's Month here on Be Exposed Radio, Living a Rich Life Talk Show. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
The Style Lounge Boutique. For a different caliber of service, The Style Lounge Boutique. For clothing that fits your lifestyle. The Style Lounge Boutique at 1734 Maryland Avenue. Trust me, you're gonna love it here.
All right. Welcome back. Again, this is your guy, Rich James, host of Living a Rich Life talk show here on Be Exposed Radio. Again, our goal is to inform, inspire, and encourage you. And we do that, again, based on 6 principles, or as I like to say, 6 elements. Again, good health, strong relationships, financial freedom, goals and achievement, extraordinary experiences, and philanthropy. We just had a very good conversation with Donte Johnson, general manager of Revival Hotel. And I got to say, he had an amazing story. So please follow that brother. Check out Revival Hotel. And all this information is going to be on my Instagram, if you can check it out. And we encourage you to again, support that brother, support what's going on. Good gentleman. So I think we're just about ready for our second guest. I check in with my producer, Monty. I believe he's, I call Monty the magician because he's always on point. So our second guest is amazing. She is an amazing individual, amazing woman. She is a proud Baltimore native and graduate of Weston High School, earned a degree from the renowned Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, where I am from. She was selected to intern for the powerhouse brand of Donna Karan. Her clientele includes business owners, professional women, and celebrities, media personalities who lead active lives as mothers, wives, elected officials, business, and community leaders. Most recently, she was lauded by Oprah Winfrey for designs worn by First Lady of Maryland, Dawn Moore, during the inauguration ceremony of Maryland's first Black governor, Wes Moore, 2 individuals that were on Be Exposed Radio on my talk show as well. Gives her time to advance the vision of youth at the Baltimore Design School, the Baltimore Leadership School, and at the Mayor Brandon Scott's Youth Leadership Summit, and is creating a scholarship fund to help underwrite the path for designer hopefuls. Please welcome American fashion designer and CEO, founder, and I call her an architect of Jody Davis Designs, Miss Jody Davis. I think you're muted. I think my producer muted you, so you got to take yourself off.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. You know, Jody, it's always good to see you, and you have such a soft voice. She said, "Can you hear me now?" So welcome. So first and foremost, tell us, who is Jody Davis?
A woman who she loves fashion, she loves family, she loves friends, she loves to travel. She's a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a advocate for helping or reaching back to those who want to trail a path such as the one that I've done. So I would just say an all around dedicated, motivated, positive woman who's thankful to be using my gifts and talents to wardrobe women across the country.
Okay, that's quite
I'm trying to move because I'm actually in a.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to stay in here because I'm actually in in New York City in one of these buildings, and it's kind of the reception can be choppy.
Okay, yes, good old New York. So you're probably doing some things because I understand you got a fashion show that's coming somewhere down the line in New York City, correct?
Well, I'm just working, strategizing, working to keep moving the brand forward.
Okay. So question for you: why did you choose a career in fashion? And again, would you call it a career versus a calling?
I would actually call it a calling. What I looked at, I've always liked to dress, but I didn't realize this whole fashion designing and all that. I didn't realize it was a gift until maybe 7 or 8 years after starting to design and make clothes and getting compliments from first family and friends, and then from people that I didn't know. And so at that point, I realized what I looked at as a hobby was actually my gift and my calling.
Yeah, and I think you probably found that calling pretty early in life, because my team pulled up that you was best dressed student at Weston High School.
Way back when, yes, and still, even back then, didn't know that that was my calling.
Right. Okay. What One of the questions that one of my team members wanted to ask was, what is your opinion in terms of education versus experience in fashion, right? Because you went to FIT, pretty known school for fashion. But what would you say, education versus experience?
Well, education, folks always want to see if you have that document behind your name. Experience teaches you things that the classroom doesn't necessarily give you. So I would say the combination of the two really helps you to propel and grow in the business that you are interested in. So I wouldn't say choose one over the other. I would say choose both.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. How do you come up with your fashion style? I mean, I've seen some of your stuff, and I don't wear women's clothes. I'm no woman, but it's definitely stunning. You always look amazing. Most of the time when I
Thank
talk
you.
to you, you're wearing your own work. And I've seen some of your clients that I'm pretty close with as well. And, Marilyn Mosby being one of them. Tell us,
Yes.
how do you come up with your fashion style?
Well, my biggest thing is to take beautiful fabric and drape it on my dress form, the dress form that I've had since graduating from Fashion Institute of Technology. And I literally asked God to touch my hand. So it's, I could have a thought, but to actually take that thought and manifest it into a pattern, into a style, um, takes that skill, that craft, that dedication, and the gift that I've been given. I somehow those ideas continue to come. I remember I was looking back over time as you grow in your business, you start looking back. I looked back through some journals, and I remember before I even opened my boutique, my biggest fear was that I would not be able to continue to come up with ideas, come up with designs. And 10, 20, 30 years later, I'm still coming up with new looks, new ideas. And so I contributed all the time to the gift that I've been given. And so that's where the ideas come from.
Oh, okay. And some good ideas they are, definitely. So those
Thank
that are
you.
just tuning in and joining, we are speaking with American fashion designer Miss Jody Davis. Most recently, again, let's take a minute to talk about the outfit that you put together for Miss Dawn Moore. Now that was stunning. Again, it's not your first rodeo, but I think given the platform, that opportunity was amazing. And I got to say, you hit a hole in one. Um, how did you have that reaction? Did you expect or anticipate that level of reaction from that get up?
Well, to be honest with you, no, I wasn't even thinking about the reaction. All I was thinking about was delivering the look that she wanted, to make sure she felt elegant and powerful and seen. And so to have received the accolades I'm receiving since then has been amazing. But you know, the thing was to deliver,
Mhm.
and based on the responses that I'm getting, I think I did a pretty good job.
And I will say I agree. I think
Thank you.
that my first guest Donte, and he's a GM of the hotel business. I think one of the keys he said was, again, just making sure his clientele, his people are good. That's what it is,
Right,
right? So
right.
the other stuff that comes is extra. It's good, but
Hmm.
again, you just want to make sure that she had the look that she wanted. So
Yes.
throughout our research, one of the things that came up was, and I quote, "Women's wear that makes women feel feminine and powerful." What's the story behind that phrase? Because you just mentioned it, so I figured I.
Just the way that the fabric or the dress, the way that it fits the body elegantly, classy, with taste and style, and it makes, and when you're dressed comfortably but elegantly with beautiful style, it makes you feel comfortable and confident and powerful. And so that is the goal when I'm designing a look, to make the woman and the look to be not trendy, but on trend. So meaning she could wear that look today and then she could wear it 5 years, 10 years from now. I know nowadays with fast fashion, oftentimes folks wear a piece one time and they don't wear it again. But trying to save the environment and saving your pockets, finding a piece that's elegant and stylish and classic, um, is what my goal is to deliver.
Okay. And one of the things also about your pieces, again, folks, we're talking with Jody Davis, um, is that you can go from one thing to next, right? So you can go from the office,
From day to
change something
evening.
up, and right, and then you can go to happy hour or cocktail
Right.
hour, right? I
Yeah.
think that's a strong. That's kind of like your niche, so to speak, and the materials, the things I've seen folks out in, and even yourself.
Oh, thank you, Rich. Thank you for recognizing. Thank you for taking notice. Um, Thank you for taking notice. But yes, that's what I love, to have a look that you're not limited to when and where you can wear it. So as you said, you can take take a dress or take a jacket and a slack that I designed, wear it to the office, and go right out to evening for cocktails, dinner, to a show. Just a piece that transitions with your lifestyle. Uh,
Mhm.
Lifestyle is important. What you do, where you go is important, and the way you dress is as important.
Yeah, absolutely. So now this next question is all Rich James. I'm being selfish. Do you plan to get into men's fashion?
I don't, with James. I don't.
Okay, okay. All right, well, I'm gonna stay in my lane, and I say I hear you. So, but you're doing phenomenal. I love the work that you're doing. I love watching. Again, I've seen a little more than normal. Because sometimes if you don't know, you don't know. But you've definitely caught the eyes of many. You've caught my eye, and hopefully, I see a few pieces that my mom will look fabulous in. So,
Okay.
she thinks she's a fashion diva herself, but we'll see. So I have two questions that I always ask my guests, um, and I'm going to start with the first one here and now. What is your superpower?
My superpower, I would say, is being able to drape the fabric on a dress form, create a pattern, create a sample, well before I put it into production. And that
Mm,
superpower makes sure that the garment it fits as it should. As I say, I always use with style and grace, and that superpower is draping. I would say is that superpower because it affords you the opportunity to mold the body in a sense with the fabric, and the outcome is something that just is timeless and it's
right.
beautiful.
So you see it before you even put it together, so to speak.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. So Jody, can you share with folks your hours, your location, your social media, so that they can get a hold of you, should they want to purchase, etc.
Yes, so I'm located Jody Davis, and it's Jody with a Y, and I have to say it all the time because people continue to spell it with an I or an IE, but it's Jody Jody Davis. The location is 110 West Saratoga Street in downtown Baltimore. The hours are Friday and Saturday from 11 to 6, and during the week by appointment. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Jody Davis JD or Jody Davis Design. The same for Facebook, LinkedIn. It's all Jody Davis. And again, it's Jody with a Y, Jody Davis.
Okay, you heard it first
Oh,
right
Rich,
here.
and let me just say the website is jodydavis.com.
Yes, yes, you can't forget that because you can
Yeah,
shop right there. You can shop right
yeah.
there. So let's keep this going here. So I know you work with again a lot of different people, and again this is Be Exposed Radio, so we got to ask a little risque question here and there. Um, who was your favorite or most memorable client to work with, and then at the same time your most difficult or challenging, however you want to word it?
Well, Rick, I would say that I had so many amazing clients, so I wouldn't single out just any one of them. But
Okay.
just the fact that when my clients come and they come with an open mind, some of them repeat clients that I've had 5, 10, 15 years. Others are referrals. And the thing that I like is when a client comes, when she's open minded to try on things. Oftentimes, a woman will come in with one thing in mind or thought in mind, but then when I get her to try pieces on, she could wind up walking out with 3, 4, 8 dresses or 8 looks. Um,
Mhm.
for the woman that comes in that's saying she wants to change her look and change her style, but in all reality, she wants to continue to stay in the comfort zone where she is, could be a challenge. So I would say not any difficult client, but a challenge if a client is not willing to step out of that comfort zone and try some new looks or something that she wouldn't normally wear.
Mhm.
That could be challenging.
Oh, say less, say less. To my guy Steve, who's a different regard. He's a fashion designer, and I'm quite
Yeah.
sure you've heard his name.
Yes.
That's me. That's me all the way. I get caught. I am caught. I will go to. I used to go to the store and buy the same shirt, just in different colors. So I've
Yeah.
gotten better though. I've gotten
Good.
better. So at the same time, so how are you able to maintain and develop such a loyal client base? Because again, I know there's quite a few folks that you've been designing for quite some time.
I will say it's the fit of the garment, it's the quality of the fabric, it's the detail that I put into the garment. The the thing that I recognize is when I see women out and say if a woman she's got a special event, she's got a presentation, she's um, doing something special, and I look on Instagram or look on social media or get a text or a picture to see women choosing a Jody piece for those special occasions is just such an awesome feeling. And I contribute that to the way that the garments fit the body, the way that the garments, again, make a woman feel, make you feel feminine, powerful, stylish, statement, all of those things. It would be just a simple dress, but it's the fit of the garment. It's the way the fabrics that I choose, the trims, the notions, all of those things that go into creating a look helps my clients. I get clients saying, Jody, I need a new piece. I'm having I'm having a desire to get another Jody piece in my wardrobe. So all of that stuff makes me feel good and makes me think to myself, you're doing something right.
Yes.
And to have clients that I've had again and again, repeat clients, 5, 10, 15 years, is pretty darn awesome.
Absolutely, and I will say kudos. Keep doing what you're doing. I believe we got a phone call. Um, so, Monty, you want to go ahead and put the phone call through? I never get used to this technology, Jody.
Listen, I'm learning every day.
Okay, go ahead, call it. This is Rich James. You're on Living a Rich Life talk show with our special featured guest, Jody Davis. Do you have a question?
Yes. Hey, Rich James. This is Brittany out in Anne Arundel County. Hi, Miss Jody Davis. I
Hi,
had a
Brittany.
question for you. Yes, you mentioned that you asked God for gifting in your hands while you were touching the fabric. Do you
Yes.
feel that you have been divinely sent to particular clients or to dress particular women?
No, I think I've been divinely sent to just make beautiful clothing that women want to wear, and because of that, I get referrals. People recognize the clothes, they recognize the brand, and so it just makes them have a desire to want to have one of those pieces in their wardrobe.
Oh, thank you. Excellent question. I might need to ask God to put men's design into Jody's. well, you like that one, right? Oh, well, thank you, Paula. Thank you, Brittany. Oh,
Thank you,
I love
Brittany.
it. What do you consider some fashion no-nos?
I would say fashion no-no is to try to follow a trend. If that's not your style, if that's not your body type, not everything is for every person. So you want to find a look that works well with you, with your body type, with your style, and just work from there, as opposed to seeing someone and thinking, "Oh, that looks good on her. Let me try it," when the style is not conducive for your lifestyle, for your body type, for all of those things. I would say are important. So a fashion no-no is to try to follow the trend.
Oh, okay. I mean, that was well said. This ain't your first rodeo. I mean, because to me, as a media personality and a radio host, and again, this is Be Exposed Radio. Like you said, everything ain't for everybody. So I'm gonna say you ain't supposed to be wearing that. Oh, I love it. Okay. So one of the other questions that, again, I always like to ask my guests, and what is living a rich life to you? When you hear that term, that phrase, that statement, what does living a rich life mean to you?
For me, living a rich life is using my gifts and talents to do what I love to do, and not only do what I love to do, but make a living doing so, and to be wardrobing women across the country. And the goal to be wardrobing women globally is living a rich life. I love to travel, love to see new places, to do new things, and following my dream, my passion has afforded me those opportunities, and so I would say that's living a rich life for me.
Okay, ain't nothing wrong with that. So, this is the reality world these days. Have you ever considered trying to get on one of those fashion reality shows? Because honestly, I think you would do extremely well. And I definitely know the DMV would support you. Baltimore would support you. Have you ever considered trying to get on one of those fashion shows? Is that
Well,
something you want?
early on, I've tried and I didn't get accepted, but it didn't stop me from continuing my quest in designing and building a brand. I just never pursued it again. So I tried it once and didn't get on, and so I got more focused on growing my business and growing my brand, and not focused on those other opportunities.
Well, I like to say that I think when it comes to those types of opportunities, when it's your time, it's your time. And
It's your time.
one thing for sure, they need to get a hold of you now before it gets too late, right?
Thank you, Rick.
I think even we try to coordinate, and sometimes I said they better get it now before it's too late. We'll say that because again, you have some excellent quality of clothes, and it's just amazing in what you've done, and I'm very happy I was able to be a part of telling your story here today. So thanks for joining me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So I do need for you to stick around for the worst part of the show, which is living a rich life closing remarks. So if you would just stick around right quick, and
Okay.
we're gonna close out the show. So again, this is Women's Month, March, and this is end of the month in which Jody decided and blessed with her parents here to close it out. Again, recognizing women and an amazing work that she's doing in the fashion design, and then shouts out again to Donte Johnson. So this is Living a Rich Life closing remarks. You have the power to move with true confidence. Confidence is not they like me. Confidence is I'll be fine if they don't. Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your heart on fire and move with confidence. Thank you, Donte Johnson, for sharing your story. Thank you, Miss Jody Davis, for closing out Women's Month with us here on Living a Rich Life Talk Show and sharing your story. If you have a story to tell, you can reach out to us at livingarich.life.net. Until next week, stay confident and continue to be inspired to live a rich life. This is Rich James saying good night, and thank you for tuning in to beexposedradio.com. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Jody. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
The Style Lounge Boutique. For a different caliber of service, the Style Lounge Boutique. For clothing that fits your lifestyle, the Style Lounge Boutique at 1734 Maryland Avenue. Trust me, you're gonna love it here.
Right. So there you have it, folks. Another successful show on beexposedradio.com. You tune in next week. We have Roxy, aka Mikkel Johnson, and a special celebrity guest that you definitely want to like to hear from. Have a good night. I'm Rich James. Good night.